Good morning and welcome to this week's lesson on value. Well, we're not talking about the value of things over here, the value of a pair of trainers or the value of a phone. We are talking about the lightness or darkness of a color. So you will see here on the worksheet, it says here that value is the lightness or darkness of a color. So we learned from our color wheel that tints are the light values made by adding different amounts of white to a color, and shades are the dark values made by adding different amounts of black to a color. Okay, so this is quite a fun thing to do. Over here is a value scale where you're going from dark to light. So one could do this with paint. For example, you would start here with your dark color and then you would gradually add white until you get to your lighter tint on this side. So it goes from shades to tints on this side over here. So let's have a look at this apple. And it would be great if you could look at the color version of these worksheets, which is available as a PDF in the assignment in the classroom stream also. So color number 1 is the darkest over here, 2 would be this color, 3 there, 4 is that one, and 5 is that one. So you would build your value scale when you were drawing this apple to make it look realistic, because light falls on objects and every single object has got darker and lighter areas, and that's what gives it form and shape. Okay, so now we're going to do some interesting things. We're going to look over here. Let me grab a highlighter. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different ways we can express value. Hatching. Hatching is a great way to do something. Look at this. I'm just going to go over this so you guys can see it clearly. With hatching, all we're doing is we're using parallel lines to give a flat object shape. Look at this. Then the next kind of thing that we can try is cross-hatching. And in cross-hatching, you're actually using lines that cross over each other. This is very popular as well, to create form when you're drawing. And then the next thing over here is a stipple effect. And over here, lots and lots of little dots have been used. Do you see how the dots are much denser on this side of this kind of ball shape where the shadow is? And then really you can use any kind of mark to create value. Over here, a kind of a scribble mark has been used. Do you see that? So you could absolutely use a kind of a scribble with a looser part of the scribble in the lighter part. And then a blend you would use with a soft pencil or a crayon or a charcoal, where you would actually have darker and then lighter areas, and you'd probably blend them with your finger. That is how you would create value. So you can see that value helps us to add shape to something that would otherwise look absolutely flat. Then we have highlights and shadows, and we have this in all things that we look at. So I want you to start looking around you, and you'll see things on your desk. I'm looking at some bottles of paint in the art room at the moment, and there are definite highlights and shadows on those jars and those bottles that give them shape and form. So the highlight is always going to be where the light falls. So you'll see that the source of the light falls on this side over here, and this side over here is in shadow. And you can look at anything around you, a box of juice, cup of coffee, anything at all, and you'll see that it will have light on the one side and shadows where the light is not hitting. Right, so moving on to the worksheet. Over here in our worksheet, you're going to practice what you learned over here. So It says here that you're going to shade the square with crosshatch lines. You're going to do the circle with blending, the cone with hatch, the rectangle with stippling, and the prisma with freestyle. Right, let's go. So I'm going to do cross-hatching for my square. So I'm going to imagine the light falls over here, and I want to have the shadow falling on that side. Ooh, quick and easy. Cross-hatching. What does it say with the circle? The circle says blending. So let me run, guys, and get, actually I can use this. I'm quickly going to run and get a pencil. Sorry, that took a while. Okay, so the circle I'm going to do with blending. So I'm using a crayon. You don't need to have sophisticated pencils or anything. Watch this. So I'm making it dark on this side, and I'm going to use my finger to actually blend the lighter areas where I also want some color but not quite as dark. And look at that. It immediately transforms that into something with shape. Then it says that the cone is going to have hatch lines. Well, hatch lines are simply parallel lines, right? There we go. I've done my hatch lines on my cone. And the rectangle is going to have stippling. So you're going to decide where the light is falling on this. I'm actually going to make the light fall on that side. And then I'm going to do my stippling over here so that this section is in the shadows, dark. And I'm going to have less darkness over there, right? And the most darkness is going to be on this side over here. And you guys can even be brave and create shadow on this side as well. The same thing for here, right? You can create shadow, cross-hatching and shadow on that side of your object. And then this prisma is going to be freestyle. I'm going to have the light hitting on that side. I'm going to make a nice big old scribble over here and over here like that. That's freestyle. Okay, have a look at that. Simple marks. Those simple marks have created a 3D effect. So this is what value is all about. Okay. Then you're going to shade the stars with different textures. Okay. And then I want you to create different tints and shades over here. And how I would do that is I would use a dark and a light. Okay, so let's say I'm going to start with a dark color like this, and then I'm going to add white, and I might add a little bit of black to this one to make it really dark, and then I'm going to start playing around adding black and white and then working my way around. And then of course you're going to create different textures by using cross-hatching, stippling and all of that. So you're going to have a play around with tints and shades over here. Then you're going to shade in over here. You're going to shade the pear. So you've got the light falling over here. You're going to draw in your pear over here. And first of all, you're going to create a value scale for yourself over here with the darkest shade over here and the lightest over here. Then you're going to use this. Okay, so you do this first. You create a value scale first. Then when you've created your value scale, you're going to use those colors to color in your pear on this page in the same way as this apple. And so you're going to do the very darkest areas where your pear would be very dark, where there's shadow, and the very lightest where the light is falling. And that is how you're going to complete your value worksheets. Good job.